Attention, due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey everybody, it's Civil Gore time. This is Tim.
And this is Brian.
And I'm back from taking Manhattan.
Yes, he took it well. He took it by storm, in fact.
Well, we had a blast up there. Didn't get to do a lot of horror-related stuff, unfortunately, but we still got a lot of cool stuff done, and we'll talk about at least one of those things in our first chop today.
Yes, it'll be. It's actually, while it's not truly horror-related, it's definitely worthy of the first chop segment, I think.
This episode was originally planned to be another in our Summer Slaycation series where we went through another horror villains franchise, but unfortunately we had some sad news.
Of course, there's certain icons out there and in the world of horror, whether you know their full body of their work or you just know some pieces of it, there are just some names out there that associated with horror that stand above the rest. And in this case, we're talking about the great George Romero, who sadly passed away at the age of 77 this weekend.
Yeah, how many people can say that they actually redefined a genre and basically created a monster archetype?
Yeah, because yes, he was not the first person to come out with a zombie film, but his zombie film was so iconic that a lot of people, number one, think that that's what it is. It was the first one. But two, more importantly, he created almost like rules. You've heard us talk about that before, like the rules of horror film. He was the one that, kind of gave it that, it really gave it that signature zombie look with the gangly walk and, and the bang, where you could shoot them in the head and that would kill them, and fire could disintegrate, kind of stuff like that. Like that kind of stuff was he kind of was responsible for. So with the fact that he was so influential in films to come after that, I mean, even his remakes, he had portions of it. We'll get to it later, his repertoire of films there, but he, so many things he's done lately that got remade, he still had his touch on by either doing the screenplay or, adding character development or something. So he's just so important to the world of horror, that, we had to change the format. So we apologize, if you were expecting our next series in Summer Slaycation, but we just thought right away. Tim and I were walking when we found that out, and one of my good friend Paul actually texted us. He said, "Hey, you guys, I'm sure you heard. You may want to talk about it." It was literally right as we were discussing it. It was kind of funny like that, and so we said, "Yeah, we're gonna just go off our little plan of Summer Slaycation to give an honor to someone who truly deserves it in the world of horror."
Yeah, and we'll get more on Mr. Romero coming up shortly, as we'll go through his obviously most famous film, Night of the Living Dead, but we'll also touch on his other films as well.
Right. Also that weekend we did lose another great actor, Martin Landau, and the reason why I wanted to mention him is I know he's not really known for horror, but he did play the great Bela Lugosi in Ed Wood, which was a truly memorable performance. So I figure we had to at least mention that on the podcast as well.
Yep, so without further ado, let's get right into our first chop. So Brian, this is a film I watched a few weeks ago and I apparently forgot to talk about, and it may have been because of some of the schedule timing and things. I just forgot about it, but it was a movie recommended by one of my coworkers on Amazon Prime called HELL HOUSE LLC.
I got to tell you, Amazon Prime, their horror selection is kind of giving Shudder a run for their money there lately.
Yeah, they've got some good stuff on there, and when this coworker of mine suggested this, I was a little skeptical because it's a found footage film. It takes place in a haunted attraction, and I honestly, I didn't expect much out of it. It's got one of those titles that just to me looks kind of low budget and probably not very well done. But man, this has been the surprise gem of the last several months for me.
I gotta watch this thing. I know you've told me about it too, and I just been, I gotta put it on like the top of the list, I think.
Yeah, I think I actually want to watch it again. But it's about a disaster that befalls a haunted attraction called Hell House. And the details of the tragedy are not made very clear. You get some footage of people screaming and running out, and it kind of starts off like, there's police presence everywhere, typical found footage. But then it cuts and they start interviewing this girl that was a survivor who actually helped put on the production of the house. And then you start going into back footage of this team as they go to this place to create this haunted attraction and what leads up to opening night and ultimately the tragedy.
So it's like a news story kind of going on, found footage, like that kind of...
It starts off as a news story, and then it kind of goes into home video footage of them actually building the house. And I was obviously interested because I loved the houses that October built, which is another found footage a found footage film
with a sequel coming out too.
Yeah, about haunted attractions. So I was definitely interested in the premise, but I was really surprised at how effective and creepy this film is. It's really entertaining. A lot of found footage films I find boring after a while, because it's been done so much.
Right.
It's entertaining through and through. Likable characters. Interesting premise that I really couldn't figure out from the start. And the word I've seen pop up again and again from people who have watched it and have commented on it is creepy. And it really does that really well. And everybody should go check that one out. HELL HOUSE LLC.
I think I know what post-podcast movie I'm watching tonight.
Yeah. I might throw it on again as well. And also, while I was up in New York, I picked up at Forbidden Planet the Friday the 13th, the final chapter action figure by NECA or NECA, however you want to pronounce it. I've heard it pronounced two different ways. So
yeah, they didn't want to make it easy for us.
Yeah, but what a cool figure. I knew they had this one out there, but I didn't have it available locally. So when I saw it up there in New York, I knew I had to get it, and the price was right. So I've added that one to my Ash and Nintendo Jason.
Yeah, that store was good. That's why I knew I had to take you there, because I knew they had a lot of cool stuff there. And, they had that whole, the horror Blu-ray and DVD section, a lot of horror figures and memorabilia and stuff. And what was cool, their prices are not bad. They're only a few bucks more than you finding it at a Toys R Us, let's say. So it's good to go there.
Yeah, they had some really very expensive but really cool Puppet Master models.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. And we almost missed those. Remember, we saw those on the way out, and we almost missed it.
Yeah, but I mean they were like hundreds of dollars, but they were large, like 18-inch dolls, basically of the different Puppet Master characters, which were completely awesome. But
yeah, it's like that sideshow collectible level of stuff. It was like really detailed.
Yeah, and two other things I picked up, actually these arrived right as I left, were the Scream Factory Black Christmas and Life Force releases. Now, the Life Force release is not a collector's edition. I believe that one's out of print. And you can't find the original one they released, which was a full collector's edition. But I wanted to pick this one up anyway because I have not seen this movie, and I've heard it's really awesome.
I was going to say, because if you had seen it, I was going to say, I know why you got that movie. But
well, that's the other reason. I know exactly why. For those that don't know, there's a leading character who spends most of the movie completely naked.
Yeah, I remember I watched that first time, and when it came on to cable, and I remember I was like, I was downstairs, my parents were up in the upstairs, and this thing came on, and I'm just like, it's one of those things, when you're younger and you're watching that type of movie, kind of waiting for your parent to walk in at an awkward scene. But it was good. I got through the whole first part, at least. It was good without anyone coming to question what I was watching, so it was good.
And of course, Black Christmas is a classic.
Yes.
I absolutely love that one. So and that may be one we need to cover around the holidays.
Yeah,
that'd be a good one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I assume that when that comes around, I think I could already. I think that one, and then probably Krampus. I would say we'd have to do at least in December this year.
And Rare Exports would be another good one.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen that one,
maybe even one of the Silent Nights.
Yeah, we might take the whole month of December and just kind of do a string of 3 or 4 of those Christmas horror tales.
Yeah, because
cool.
I mean, I know the original. I know the original Silent Night, Deadly Night was really good. The other ones started, like any kind of horror series that they just try and stretch everything out of it. They tend to get thin towards the end of the run of that. But I do know the first one was really good.
And Brian, do you want to go over the sleepaway camp thing before we get into our big first chop feature?
Sure. You guys had heard me mentioned on the show before about this company that locally. It's on Long Island. They do. It's called a Retro Picture Show, and they host at the Cinema Arts Center in Huntington, New York. They host these really cool like horror double features, and or special events. Like they had that one of those pay to get out horror-thons one point. And they have some really cool things. Well, originally I had mentioned, I think a couple of weeks ago, that they were doing Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. I thought it was kind of funny that they just picked the 2 and 3. But they've now since added Sleepaway Camp, the original one. So you're getting 1, 2, and 3 all in 35 millimeter. And apparently it's one of the first times ever all three of them, I guess, were shown like that. And, I mean, that's what they're claiming. Who am I to argue? I can't imagine that's a that's a common triple feature that they show with these things. But to even make it even more of an exciting event, they actually have Felissa Rose appearing. I don't know whether it's before the movie or during or what she's, what the scheduling is. But, so, as you know, Felissa Rose played Angela in the first film. So, I mean, you want to get, if that's not a cool event. I'm going to try and go to that. Thing is, I have to be somewhere the next day, and it starts at 10 o'clock. So, you're looking. I mean, granted, not one of those movies is longer than 90 minutes. They're all under 90 minutes. But I'm sure with the extra minutes, so, I'm looking at a late night. So I'm going to try and do it. And if I do, obviously, I will give a full report on it and send some pictures back and stuff. But yeah, I just think that's cool. So if you're in the Long Island area and you like that series, that seems like a great thing. I think it was like $22 too for the event for all three films.
Oh yeah, I'd be all over that if I was up there.
So I mean, I have great adventure the next day, but we'll see. I'm gonna try and do it. I'll drag Seth with me because I know do not think Julie would sit through all those movies. Seth, however, will.
So let's get to the real cool thing we did.
Yes.
We went to Madame Tussauds because I'm a sucker for wax museums, and that's probably some of my horror obsession showing because so many creepy horror films have wax figures and that kind of thing.
Right. And we do have to send that picture. We did pose with some horror icons.
Yeah,
So
they had a short little classic horror section that we will post those Instagram pics. But Madame Tussauds had an experience called the Ghostbusters Dimension.
Yes.
And what this was a virtual reality experience where you become a Ghostbuster. And I want to preface this by saying we may go into a little bit of spoilery territory here. We're not going to describe the attraction scene by scene. But if you don't want to know anything about it going in, you might want to skip ahead about 5 minutes.
Yeah, because this... let me tell you, I think one of the best things about this is that when I read about it, I didn't quite understand it. I assumed it was just a virtual reality experience, like, you slap on the headset and you go around and you're shooting ghosts. Well, it's so fully immersive that it kind of blows you away. So, and the fact that I didn't really know that was going in, how well it was, I just heard, oh, it's amazing. But, what were they going to say? Hey, come try this attraction. It stinks. No, of course they're going to sell it. So I just thought it was going to oversold, typical virtual reality thing you see anywhere where you stand on a platform and you spin around. But as we'll get into, you will see it is nothing like that. And so we definitely don't want to spoil scene by scene for you, but we're probably going to give you a little bit about it that kind of explains the how incredible this attraction is.
Yeah, so what happens is you go inside, you get some VR goggles, which for VR, a Ghostbusters costume is almost perfect because they had the goggle things, they had the proton packs. All this stuff is kind of blended into the VR equipment itself. So you have the goggles, you have an actual prop gun, which serves as your proton pack gun, and then you have a vest, which provides tactile feedback which kind of feels like you're strapping on a proton pack anyway.
Yeah, and it's heavy. When they have you in, it's like the attachment is kind of like hooked on like by like a carabiner up to the back. So you kind of stretch it along. It's kind of funny when it puts you on, but then when you actually let go, you realize it's a decent weight that's on you.
Yeah, you feel like you're carrying around real gear.
Yeah, which you would think, oh, that's kind of a pain as a deterrent, but no, it actually adds to the realism of this thing. I mean, I guess if you as real as a Ghostbuster actually is.
But what's cool is the VR is completely immersive. This is not augmented reality.
No, that's what I kind of thought it was going to be too.
Yeah, this is you cannot see the real world. You're completely in this virtual world, and you're standing in an apartment, and there's a door in front of you, and they tell you when the light turns on, you can go through this door. Now, the cool thing about this experience, which is different from anything VR I've ever done, is that you actually walk through it.
Yeah.
And if you see a door in front of you, there's an actual physical door in front of you. If you see a wall in the VR world, there is a physical wall that you can reach out and touch and put your hand on.
Yeah, and I mean, in certain scenes, there's, and when we say like fully immersive, like literally it's not like you look up and then the screen ends. No, you look up, you will see the ceiling. You look down, you will see the floor and your virtual feet. You don't see your own hand, but it doesn't make sense that you would see your virtual hand. So it's like, that takes a couple seconds to get used to, because, you're kind of a little disoriented, at first. But I think once you get into it and you start to move around, you realize how you can interact with, as like Tim said, you can interact with stuff. Like we found out afterwards, if there was a chair in the room, you could have actually sat in the chair.
Yeah, which is crazy. And when it supports up to 4 people per group, I guess.
Right, and Tim and I got split up.
Yeah, we got split up, unfortunately. Brian went with a group of 3, and I went with my wife. But you can turn around and see each other. As Ghostbusters in full costume and everything.
Which was funny because my wife Julie was one, and one of our friends Ariel was the other, and so at first I didn't, once you're in there, you don't know which one is which, because they don't look like you. They look like a generic Ghostbuster. You pick in the beginning when you like sign in, like what your character looks like, but I didn't remember who picked what, so I had to actually listen to their actual voice to tell who was who.
Yeah, their voice comes through the headset,
right,
which is really cool.
Right, so it doesn't sound like they're standing, like it's very surreal. It's like as many, like I have a feeling that you could do that a couple of times easily before you actually can get a little bit used to it. Like, because even through the whole attraction, there was this sense of like, what's real, what's not. I mean, you're almost like hesitant to walk forward because you're afraid you're going to smack into something, but you have to just trust that what you see in that virtual world is what is going around you. So you're not going to walk into some random pillar or something that's sitting in there. If it's not in the game, you're not going to hit it. And the guy told us, I don't know, I think, Tim, you guys were getting ready. So you were outside. We went in and some guy was saying, some guy pretend, like he said he's never seen anyone fall in there. Now, anyone that knows me know that, well, that's a stupid thing to say in front of me because I fall everywhere. But I didn't. But he said, but he said the one guy he saw fall did it intentionally because of, he reacted to something in there and tried to make a show out of it and make it funny. But yeah, so you don't really so I assume by that saying it, I assume I believe there's someone in the room with you the whole time kind of watching, making sure you don't.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, they said that. Even the woman that told us, she said, "I'll be in the room with you."
Yeah,
they're quiet. You don't know that they're there.
Right.
You can't tell they're there, but they're there just for safety reasons, just to make sure you're not going to do something crazy.
Right.
But without giving too much away, to show you how immersive this is, there was one sequence where you had to walk across a narrow path,
right, to
get somewhere. And my wife was actually afraid to walk across it. Now, in real life, she was probably in just a blank room.
Right.
And all she had to do was just walk across the floor. But to her, it felt so real. And to me, too. I mean,
yeah.
Even though I know how all this stuff works, and I'm mesmerized.
Yeah, like I hesitated to take a step forward at that point. I reach out, and there's like a railing in the virtual thing, and you reach out for it, you grab an actual railing. So it really throws you off in that sequence because it's just the depth is immersive as if it really would be what it would be. And it's just so you look up, you look down, you look everywhere. It is It's crazy. And I got to tell you, one of the coolest things about with the you play these shooting games before and the sights are off, and no, this thing, you're shooting your proton pack and this thing hits anything, it reacts instantly. You shoot a wall and it like literally will shoot a hole through the wall. Or you hit a ghost, you see the ghost like go splat like instantly. And when I say there's some sequences where there's ghosts all around you, there are ghosts all around you. It's crazy.
Yeah, there were sequences where Olivia was saying, "Look behind you," and I would turn around and see a ghost and just start firing, and I'm hitting the wall, and the wall's scorched, and I'm knocking wallpaper off the wall. It was incredible, and the track. I guess the whole key to this being effective is the tracking, because it has to basically overlay a virtual world on top of a real world so that you can actually feel props. You can actually see your gun, move it in front of your face, and it matches with the VR gun. It adds up to it was the most immersive experience I've ever done.
Right, and now this is coming from two guys that have been to Disney and Universal and have done all the top line attractions, and I got to tell you, this thing easily is I would say easily the best attraction I've ever done, just for that reason that it's so unique and how realistic it is. And it's not, I'm telling you, I had done virtual reality back in the day. I remember this when it was a big thing, and you stood on a round pod, and they put a little thing over your head, and I think you walked around with a sword, and it was there was no background scenery. It was just creatures would come out, or there was really blank background scenery, that blocky, Lawnmower Man kind of stuff. And you just swing things, and you would sometimes hit it, sometimes you're not. Now, this is you actually, like Tim said, when he was scorching walls, you literally knocking, lamps down, and stuff crashes to the ground, and you feel it because it, if things hit you nearby, your chest vibrates, and, they do make you sign that waiver in there, and they're like, oh, you could, if you have this, and this, and I'm like, really, is that realistic? And thinking, and boy, was it, I could see people with heart conditions or different kind of ailments. Oh, forget it.
Can you imagine that being an actual scare attraction?
Oh my God.
How freaking scary that would be.
That would be amazing. I hope they do it.
Yeah, but apparently this technology is something that's basically a system. It's not just this Ghostbusters thing. They actually have a whole system for doing this where they could set other kinds of attractions, like maybe a horror one or an adventure or a fantasy. They could do that and kind of swap it out and give you different experiences. So I hope this takes off. And, man, if it does, I'm going to be a happy person.
Oh, yeah. And I'll go seek these out. I will literally seek these out to see, make sure I make that, a portion of a trip to get to these different ones to see what they could do with it. And it just so happens that Ghostbusters is such a perfect model for this. Because, first of all, who didn't want to be a Ghostbuster? And second of all, just that the outlandishness of the whole thing, and just to shoot your streams out and and live out like a Ghostbusters thing.
Whoa, careful there.
Oh,
Brian.
you're right. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah. I know we have the explicit tag, but I better be careful the way I don't want to stretch it to where we need two of them slapped on. But yeah, so just remember, just the one tip I will give everybody is make sure if you go to this, read carefully, because you need to get the VIP experience that includes Ghostbusters Dimensions. They will say Ghostbusters Experience. That is something different. That's
just the wax figures,
which is pretty. I mean, the experience itself is amazing. And if that's all it was, you'd still say, wow, they did a great job. Because there's a whole thing where you could see, there's a projection of Slimer, and you can hit a button, and he gets trapped, and he interacts with you. And there's a lot of cool little effects going on, and you can look through ghost traps. And that's great on its own. But it was so funny to see while we were lined up waiting to go into the attraction, so many people just turned to come and join us. And the guy, would pretend to scare them and say, nope, you don't have the ticket. You don't have the ticket.
Yeah. I think it comes out to about $20 more, but man, it was worth it.
It was worth every penny of that $20. I would actually do the full museum again to do it again. That's how good it was in a heartbeat. I mean, it was so fun, so amazing. Like Tim said, I can't wait to see what the possibilities are. This is just the first one. So I can't even imagine what they're thinking up, what they could do. We were just talking before we went to record, man, how cool it would be if they had a zombie one, or something like that, or imagine one in space. You could, just with the way they could do this stuff nowadays, this could just be unlimited. And I could see, you know what I could see totally getting, could see like maybe the bigger theme park companies grabbing it. Like I could see a Harry Potter one, like a Harry Potter one would be amazing, where you get a wand and you can, like, I could just see that working incredible. Or obviously being the Star Wars nerd I am, I'm just dreaming of walking through with like a lightsaber in a kind of attraction like that and slicing things up and stuff. That would be cool too. So.
Or even being a stormtrooper and you get to shoot stuff and actually hit it.
Right. I mean, anything. Yeah. Oh, wait, I just caught that now. I was like, I was so in the mode of like the excitement of it. I didn't even almost catch it. I almost missed that joke, which was very good, Tim. So.
Well, let's get into our dismemberment, because apparently everybody decided to release all their Blu-rays on July 20th.
Seriously, what happened? It was like, what was it, like a week ago we had none, and now there's like everything.
Yeah. But some of these got some weirdness in the release date, so we'll mention those. But the first one I had up here, this is for July 25th. Happy birthday, Kevin.
Yay!
That's his birthday. The first one is the Warlock Collection, starring Julian Sands, and it includes Warlock, Warlock Armageddon, and Warlock 3. Now, I'm positive I saw the first one many, many moons ago, but I don't know that I've ever seen the two sequels.
Yeah, I remember them being released and seeing trailers and stuff, but I think I'm with you in that same camp. I remember seeing the first one. I don't remember it well by any means, and I definitely don't remember the two sequels, seeing them, so...
Yeah, I'll probably pass on that one.
Yeah, unless it was one of those ones where it's like, I don't know, $19.99, and I'm feeling giddy in the store. I may grab it. I've known to do that. I'm grabbing. I say, well, what's one more thrown into my pile of movies I won't watch? And Tim could tell you, he's seen my collection now firsthand. I have a problem.
Yeah, he has a big problem, but the good news is, after my wife saw his collection, she doesn't talk about my collection anymore. Like, she's like, okay, you're fine.
See, that's what I did. I did that intentionally. I stocked up a lot right before Tim got there to really hammer that one home.
So my wife doesn't care about me buying Blu-rays anymore, because I'm not anywhere near the level of obsession that Brian
which
is.
made Julie feel so much better that I was that I could save you, but now she realizes how much I actually have, and it's better. But don't worry, I did remove Paul Blart from the library so it could go out in the prize pack. And
Oh yeah, okay, there you go. And I saw it. I actually searched it out.
It's there.
Paul Blart 2. He does have it. It is there.
Yes, Paul Blart 2 is there. But yeah, no. So Tim definitely saw firsthand my little Blu-ray problem, and
yeah, it's not a little.
No, yeah, it's not a little problem at all. It's bad.
It's impressive, is what it is.
Yeah, but think about it. It's funny. Like I said, that when Tim and I first discussed doing this podcast, once we kind of knew we were going to do it, and we were a few months of planning ahead of time to try and do this, I would start actually buying horror movies, and we'd text each other. We'd say, hey, I think I'm gonna pick this up, but don't worry, it's okay. It's for the podcast. That was my mantra. Yeah, it's for the podcast.
It's still my excuse.
Oh well, technically it is. I mean, listen, we're gonna have to review all these movies at some point, and the fact that one of us owns them is a plus, right?
That's right.
So there we go. I took the bullet.
Now, if only the podcast would start paying.
Yeah, right. I know. Maybe I should start just like. I really should somehow get this subsidized to the point of where like these movie studios are just sending me them. I think I've paid my dues now, really.
Yeah.
But
so the next one on our list is called the Stendhal Syndrome from 1996. And it's about a young policewoman who slowly goes insane because she's tracking down a serial killer through Italy, when she herself becomes a victim of the man's obsession. So I guess it sounds sort of Silence of the Lambs-y.
Yeah.
I had never heard of this
No,
one.
but I love titles. Like, there's certain horror words, words in horror movies that they tend to just recycle in movies. Syndrome is definitely one of those. How many times have you seen a horror movie with the title Syndrome in it, right?
The name something.
Yeah, the something syndrome, the something experiment.
Yeah,
the something effect,
the something tapes,
yeah,
the something incident.
I'm telling you, it really is. It's like those games you see on Facebook where you to get a title, just put your first address in and your pet's name.
One of our the theatrical release this week is the same.
See?
Follows the same format.
There you go.
So.
And I want to know how good spell check is to make sure, because think about it, you could have easily made a typo and that would have changed the entire movie, because it could have been a serial rapist, and then that would have been just a guy, like a musical, I guess. Or if you added a letter, maybe a couple of letters, it could have been someone who just really liked wrapping gifts. But either way.
That reminds me, speaking of that, Brian, so you've heard of the Serbian film.
Yes. Oh, the documentary's coming out, right?
Yeah, which I'm hoping we never have to cover that.
No,
one,
I don't think we should cover that, from what I heard.
We were watching, apparently there is a baby raping sequence in this movie. That's how bad this is. Yeah.
Oh.
But there was I was reading I don't know if it's Wikipedia. I was reading an article about it, right? But they couldn't use baby raping, obviously, in the article, because that would send up all kinds of flags. So they had used the word rapping instead. So it was talking about all these scenes with baby rapping. So I was thinking of like this tiny little baby.
And that's bad in itself, Oh, baby rapping that way. Okay, I thought you meant like wrapping up a child in something. I'm like, well, that's not as bad as the other one, but it's pretty bad,
No, this was like rapping, like
rapping,
beatboxing or whatever.
Well, they had that. What was that thing that that Super Bowl ad with the something baby monkey or something? Remember, with walking around?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't realize
they brought that back. I saw that one recently.
Yeah, it's back on. Like who like brought it back? But oh god, I didn't realize it was that. I mean, I didn't know much about that film. I just knew that it was so controversial and just horrific. So I was actually just looking forward to seeing the documentary on it only. I didn't want to watch the movie. I wanted to see the documentary to see what just so I can get like a kind of an outside view of this, because I don't want to. Definitely don't want to see anything with that in it, but
yeah, I read a scene by scene just to know what it was, because I knew I was not going to watch it, because I do have my limits.
Yeah, no, I do too. Those kind of things to me, they're just when it's just a pure shock for for whatever reason they choose to do that. It's just I have
and
no
I've
interest.
got kids, man.
I have a little niece. I don't want to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, but I like the idea that she's tracking down an Italian rapist.
Yeah,
rapper.
A rapper. That'd be funny. Italian rapper. Like, what would it?
The next one.
That's a Kickstarter in itself. The Italian rapist on the loose. We'll work on that one. I threw Tim off his game.
I was trying to come up with a name. I was like,
I know, me too. Like,
and I was thinking of like Notorious Luigi.
Notorious Luigi.
Luigi.
There you go.
Oh no. Okay. Moving right along.
Yes.
Reanimator's getting a really nice Arrow Video limited release.
We just don't know when.
We just don't know when. So it was originally listed as July 25th. Now we're seeing like the Amazon pre-order says August 7th. I've heard some other sites say August 7th, so I don't know. It's coming out either this week or in a couple weeks.
Basically, look for it. It's coming out.
It looks really cool, though. I think I'm going to get this one because I do not have Reanimator on Blu-ray. I've only got it on DVD. So
right, and I have and I have some. I think about some cheap $9.99 version of it. I mean, it's on Blu-ray, but it's definitely doesn't have that kind of stuff.
This one's got the 4K restorations, audio commentaries, a comic book reprint, interviews, a collector booklet. I mean, it's really cool.
From what I looked at, it wasn't that bad. And probably there's only like $24.99 too on Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a limited, so it's possible that one might be hard to find.
Yeah, I may actually do one of those. I may just jump in on it and pre-order it tonight. Actually.
Speaking of which, both Brian and I pre-ordered.
Oh yeah,
the Chucky collection while inside of a Sephora waiting for our wives.
Yeah.
To shop for makeup.
Yeah, it was so funny. We're sitting there literally. We didn't even we stepped literally just enough into that store to reap the benefits of the air conditioning and to lean on something. So we sat there and then we got to look through the thing. And funny, I couldn't find it at first. Tim discovered it. So it was probably my most successful endeavor into Sephora ever. Because I know my wife likes it, so we go in there.
All the other husbands saw us leaning there, so then they would let their wives go, and then they would come and lean beside us.
Yeah,
and there was just this whole wall of leaning guys waiting on their wives.
Yeah, it was started a trend. Yeah, it did. We were like trendsetters, and look at Tim. He's there in New York for like one and a half days at that point, and he's already trendsetter. He fit in so well, you know. And it was better than when we got like thrown out of our standing spot at what was that store? What was it? Century? No, I said
it was Forever 21.
I almost said Century 21.
We almost got kicked out of a Forever 21 because we looked Forever 45.
Yeah. But we think that's the reason. We never really got an answer. The guy just kept saying, no, you can't stand here. We assume it was because it was his spot. It was like a security guard, and I guess we were standing kind of by the escalator, I guess.
I think it's because from the street, we were making their store look bad.
Right, yeah, that must have been it. They're like, oh, wait, this must be the wrong store. Maybe it's...
That's two middle-aged guys looking at their iPhones, and they were like, oh, sir, you can't...
Yeah, what is this? What is this, Perpetually 121? What is this store? I don't... Yeah. Definitely not. We were definitely not the clientele for that store, and we were in a bad spot, I guess, advertising. So we were asked to step aside.
Oh, okay. Next up is another one we have questionable release date on, and that is the Slither Scream Factory release. And I really want this. I like this movie. I saw it when it was released.
Yeah, it was pretty.
I remember really enjoying it.
Yeah, this is a good one to get. I just hope we ever find out when it comes out, so we're ready for it.
Yeah, it's either this week or again early August.
Right.
But that one also has a brand new audio commentary and some new interviews, along with a lot of the extras that have been released before. So that would be a good one to pick up.
Yeah.
Next up, we have The Night Shift, not to be confused with Stephen King's Night
I was gonna say, this is one of those ones that they probably is gonna get way more purchases just because of its title than.
Yeah, this is a 2016 release, and speaking of security guards, I don't know if this guy works for Forever 21, but
I know.
He gets hired to guard yeah, there you go. He gets hired to guard an empty mansion until the owner arrives in the morning, but he's been set up as a human sacrifice to be sacrificed to these demons who live in the house. So that sounds kind of a cool premise.
It does, actually. I was going to say, it's surprisingly not that bad of a premise. It's just unfunny that the owner will arrive in the morning. Like, that's so specific when he's coming back. You know?
The next one up is this one, good luck getting your hands on it. I'm not even going to try.
Oh, my God. I just looked at white. Yeah, now that you say that.
A limited edition of only 100 of these are made. It's called Sheets of Gore.
They're probably all sold out already in pre-orders, I bet.
Yeah, I'm sure. Volumes 1 and 2, there's a gore master, Todd Sheets, who's been working, I guess, in the industry for nearly 3 decades. Shot classics such as Zombie Bloodbath, Goblin, Violent New Breed, and many more. And so this is a collection of the short films he made early on in his career, which I'm sure is really cool.
Yeah.
That sounds neat.
Is it bad? I don't know. I never heard of him, I don't think. Is that bad? Am I like a horrible horror podcast host?
No, I don't think so, because I've never heard of him either.
Okay.
You got to remember, like, we're not like super like hardcore.
True. We never claimed. We said from day one we are not horror experts. We just love the genre, so exactly. We will be throwing out facts incorrectly all the time. So
yeah, these films he's done are not like high end. Yeah, these are cult type.
Is that like that guy Beelzebub, whatever his name was? That.
Yeah, these are why we're cult.
That level,
low budget. But I'm sure he's got his fans out there, and if you're listening and you're mad.
Yeah, no, we're not trying to do him any disrespect at all. I don't know who he is.
I can't. Yeah, like I said, I can't claim to have seen every horror movie on the planet by any means. I just love the genre, and I will talk about the stuff that I have seen.
Yes, there we go.
Speaking of things I haven't seen,
this is a doozy. Wow.
It's called Bag Boy Lover Boy.
Is it? Let me guess. Okay, I'm gonna do one of my guesses.
Okay. Don't even look.
I'm not looking. Well, no. I mean, I saw the description, but I'm gonna guess on the cover art. Is it like a split screen where he's like one like packing groceries and the other like all suave, like in Debonair, kind of like remember like that Avenging Angel, that movie with the comic where it shows her like in an all like little schoolgirl outfit, and the next she's like in a dominatrix outfit. It's not that.
No, it is actually a shot of a man with the title superimposed over his face, and he's got a bloody face.
I think mine might have been better. I think mine would have been funnier. Don't you think? I know it's horror, but
this doesn't look funny. This looks really disturbing. But it is a comedy horror. But it follows the lowly life of Albert, an oddball hot dog vendor. I saw a lot of those in New York.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say, Tim. Now that you've been in New York, okay, is that very descriptive?
Exactly. But he becomes the muse of a a New York City photographer. There you go.
Right, so it was probably one of the guys we
Ivan.
saw.
Yeah, but I guess he starts posing for photographs for Ivan, and then he starts taking his own disturbing photographs. I don't know.
For which he poses, as you put.
Yeah, I don't know. Some art photograph thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds really weird. It's from 2014. If it ever comes on Shudder, I'll check
I love. You didn't even do this review justice, too, because at the end it's like, I love it. It says, leading him to take some disturbing photographs of his own that suit his very unique and very limited skill set.
If that involves handling hot dogs, I don't think I want to know.
Maybe this is one of those like if you stumble upon it on Shudder. I don't think I'm gonna go seek this out just because I don't know. A Bag Boy. What I want to know is where the Bag Boy comes in. He was a hot dog vendor. I think Bag Boy. I think those guys at the supermarket.
I was a bag boy for 6.5 years.
Yeah, I did that too. I worked. I was like cashier. I was a bag boy. Well, it's the same thing. It's like, don't you think that's what Bag Boy is? Why was he not doing groceries? Where did they get that from?
I don't know.
It should be like hot dog or something with like it sounds like he's doing that.
Hot dog killer.
Yeah, there you go. Oh,
that's another Kickstarter.
Yeah, there we go. What are we up to? Like we're at least over 20 now, I think.
Yeah, because we thought of a couple more in New York while we were up there.
That we left for like the proper time to announce.
All right, this one looks cool. Beyond the Darkness, 1979. So, grief struck after the death of his wife. A young man attempts to keep her with him forever by gutting her, stuffing her, and replacing her eyes with glass eyes like a dog's eye.
Like a doll's eye. It really is like a doll's eye.
Like turning her into a doll.
Oh my god, we may have to get Amanda and Kevin on and review this film just so they could say that.
It sounds awesome.
It does.
It was originally called Buio Omega. I guess looks probably Italian. Looks like from the names here. It sounds really cool though. I like the idea of replacing somebody's eyes with a doll's eyes.
Yeah, no, this one actually sounds cool. And from '79, it's gonna have that grittiness to it. That's really cool about the movies in the '70s.
Yeah, it's Italian. I just looked down.
Yeah. Maybe the Italian rapper made his screen debut in that. Yes, and all you out there, yes, you'll be getting an Italian rapper character down the road on this podcast.
Down the road.
Yeah. We're not prepared for it at this point.
And I don't want to be offensive.
No, it will not be offensive. It'll be quality.
The next one, now, this one is cool. This one's cool. It's not a good film.
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen it, but I know it's not.
And it's been remade, right? A couple times, or a couple of versions of this.
The cool thing about this one is the Zodiac Killer from 1971. And the neat trivia about this one is, this is about the Zodiac Killer, but the guy who made this film in order to catch the real Zodiac Killer.
Oh, that's cool.
Because the theory was this killer probably liked publicity of himself.
Yes. Oh, see, that's like full on like Criminal Minds stuff.
Yeah. So what they did is they screened this film in the area, and they had every audience member fill out a card. And I can't remember exactly. You can go look at the trivia.
Was the first question one? Are you the Zodiac Killer?
No. It was something like, "Why would you kill?" or something.
Oh, okay.
It was something like that. And they had to fill out this card and put it in a box. And then there was actually a guy hidden underneath the ballot box who was taking a look at the handwriting and comparing it to known Zodiac handwriting.
Wow. Did they do a documentary on this? Because that'd be incredible.
I've read a lot about the Zodiac Killer, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts where this is mentioned. So this film, I knew about this movie from various sources and heard this story.
Oh, I think I gotta buy this one.
So this, it's a really bad, low-budget film that was basically thrown together in order to try to catch the real Zodiac Killer. But it is, just for that alone, it's kind of a neat conversation piece.
It's kind of like you want to do it justice by like getting it and watching it and owning it to see like what the whole thing was behind it,
Yeah, so that's kind of a neat story behind that one.
See, I actually heard though they did that kind of strategy with some other movies actually. Like I heard they did it with Paul Blart 2 because they wanted to see what idiot would go out and buy it, and apparently I got contacted soon after. So there was someone waiting under the register at Best Buy saying, "Seriously."
If you look at the DVD profit for Paul Blart 2, it's like $9.99 and it's registered to Brian
located in New York.
That's like their entire profit.
It is, yeah. I mean, and I love Kevin James, but I'm sorry, but Paul Blart 2 was... and the first one wasn't bad.
His stand-up is hilarious.
And the first one wasn't bad. The first one was kind of funny.
Yeah, he had a great stand-up, so I'll give you that.
Yeah, he's from Long Island guy. I got to support my hometown heroes, so to speak. Speaking of that, Adam Sandler is filming, and Chris Rock is filming a movie on Long Island this week. Cool. I got a location, so maybe I should go over there and see if they listen to Civil Gore.
At least give him a card.
Yeah, give him hey, do you mind?
We have 2 theatrical releases, and this is another one where...
Oh, yeah, The Incident. There you go.
The Grace-filled Incident. But I watched the trailer. The trailer actually looks really cool. So apparently there's a place called Gracefield. There's 3 couples spending a long weekend in a cabin there when suddenly a meteorite strikes. And they start experiencing all this type of alien extraterrestrial stuff. Now, the weird premise about this one is it's found footage.
Oh.
But the guy, the lead character, has a glass eye, and he replaces his glass eye and puts a camera in.
What's with the theme this week? Glass eyes, incidents, syndromes?
But I kind of like the fact that he's not carrying around a camcorder. Basically, you're assuming that the movie was filmed literally through his eye.
They did that in a sequence in one of the shorts of VHS, the second one, I think. Where, remember that one where the guy had the operation to the ocular implant? Yeah. He had,
I mean,
and he started seeing the murderer.
A unique... it's been done before.
Right.
I think Black Mirror might have done it.
But I like that. No, I like that they're like we said earlier, how many times you're going to do the found footage angle? It's hard to kind of become original. So at least they're making a good attempt here with not making it like people with camcorders all the time. Because at some level, you always wonder in those things like, all right, really? You would have put down the camera in real life by that point. You wouldn't stand there as you're watching your friend get his head chewed off by something. No, you'd put the camera down.
Go look at the trailer. Like, the trailer was really creepy.
Yeah, I think I might have to. I bet you it's one of those like theatrical / VOD releases, though, right? I can't imagine this. I didn't even hear about it, so I would assume it's going to come.
I don't know. Now the next one I think might be a VOD / theatrical because I originally saw it released on the Blu-ray list, but then I went and looked at the theatrical releases and it was there too. So I just stuck it under.
It's everywhere.
But it's called Awaken the Shadow Man, and I watched the trailer for this one. It's a mess, but after the mysterious disappearance of their mother, two estranged brothers reunite and discover an unknown supernatural force. Obviously, it was funny. Okay, shadow people.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, the Shadow Man and the Shadow people. That's been used a lot. So
you've seen on horror movies where it says based on true events. Yeah. This one had the funniest thing. Like the trailer, it says based on true phenomena. So I was like,
oh god,
they're stretching. Like, okay, we're gonna say this is based on. That's like saying, your Loch Ness Monster film is based on true sightings,
based on things you've heard of as a child.
Yeah, yeah. But it looks really. I mean, I don't want to disparage the film without seeing it.
Yeah, I know.
For all I know, it's awesome.
I know we could love it for all we know.
Yeah, but the trailer, it didn't give me a good vibe. It was low budget. It was kind of all over the place. I still couldn't tell what the movie was about, and it had some really bad CGI shadow people. So, who knows?
Well, I'll tell you. Speaking, it made me think of remember the Twilight Zone series that came out in the 80s, like the first
the
reiteration.
Remake
yeah, there was a really good one about had like a boogeyman / shadow man guy that was one of the episodes, and that used to scare the hell out of me as a kid. It was so creepy, where it was like, I'm not gonna spoil it. It was basically a kid and his shadow man, and it was just like, I think it was maybe like 20 minutes long, because they used to get 3 or so little mini episodes in an hour sometimes. This was a short one. It was about 20 minutes, but if you get a chance, look it up. I don't know if that second one is on Netflix. I'll get you the exact title, and what I'll do is I'll put it on the site. That one was a good one about shadow people.
So let's get into our feature. Now we're going to cover Night of the Living Dead, obviously, but we're also going to touch on some of George Romero's other films.
Which, he's touched so many films. Like, he may not have directed everything we're going to mention, but he's done screenplays and executive produced.
He editor. He did editing. He had his hand in a lot of stuff that you might not even know that he had his
right.
hand
We found out he had a cameo right before we started to record. And
I was reading he had a cameo in Silence of the Lambs as one of the Hannibal Lecter's Jailers, of all things. So, but of course, we're talking about George Romero, who is most famous for Night of the Living Dead.
Right.
Now, I did not see Night of the Living Dead until after I had probably seen Dawn and possibly Day of the Dead, because it was black and white.
Right.
And remember, I used to have this hang up about black and white films. I didn't watch Psycho for the longest time because it was black and white. I was like, I'm not watching an old movie like that.
Well, at least
it's not scary.
At least you did it justice and didn't watch like one of the colorized versions of it, because that that needs to be seen in black and white. I mean, I know. Yeah, listen, I've seen some, movies that are, that've been black and white and colorized, and it's been on, and I've watched it. But like for something like this, I think you got to see it in the black and white that it was filmed in, because it adds something so like gritty to it. It just makes it grittier and more authentic.
Right. Like there was a scene, I was rewatching it for the podcast, and there's like one scene where you actually see one of the zombies is like nude.
Oh, right. Yeah,
like and I was just. It was like shocking to me because I knew how old this movie was.
Yeah, I caught that too, and I'm just someone that spots nudity. So, and yeah, that was
even of the dead variety.
Yeah, living dead variety. Not that I go seeking that out. I'm just saying if it's moving on screen, I can see it. But this episode went a little awry today. But yeah, so. Yeah, no, but that's funny. I noticed that too, and all the times I've seen it, I think I always forget it's in there, and then I noticed I'm like, oh, like you forget.
Hello.
Yeah.
When I saw this movie, it was kind of like I'd seen it in kind of a backwards order, because I already knew everything about zombies from the first films and from just general culture, but seeing the original that really started the modern zombie
right.
stuff was just incredible, because before this you had White Zombie,
yes,
with Bela Lugosi. And a quick aside about Bela Lugosi, I had a logic teacher in college, and he was from the same country as Bela Lugosi, so he talked just like him.
Oh my god, that must have been funny.
And so he would start class, and it was a evening class, so he would do this. I have to give him justice because I love this guy. He's like good evening.
Oh, that's great.
Good evening. Is everybody here? Is everybody here? And he was not doing it to joke. Like, he actually talked like this. And then he would say, he taught logic. And so he would go through, logical fallacies and things like that. He would say, class, can you feel it in your bones?
Oh my god, how did you survive that? I would have been...
Oh, it was... he was awesome. He was awesome. Kenny will know.
No, but I would have been laughing the whole time. Just all I could think of would be that what he sounded like.
Yeah, our friend Ken was in the same class, so he knows exactly who I'm talking about. In fact, when he's the one that got me started on this, because I can't remember, something mentioned Bela Lugosi. I think it was that picture I posted from the wax museum.
Oh, right.
And he said Bela Lugosi. But anyway, this teacher would say, we'd ask him like where he's from, and he said, people say I sound like a Bela Lugosi. So whenever I see Bela Lugosi, I always think of Bela Lugosi.
Oh my god! Speaking of that, we got to get Ken on the show too. We got to get him on one.
Yeah,
especially since he went with you to that hotel thing that time, and the fact that we play Friday the 13th. But I'd love to get another review on of that game, because he's got some funny comments. It is fun playing the game with him when he sits there and he's mocking the other players.
Yeah, he's hilarious. So, Ken, your time's coming.
Yes, Ken. So stand by, getting on.
So anyway, back on track. Yeah. So we had White Zombie. You had, obviously zombies aren't a new thing.
Right.
There's always been the idea of bodies returning to the dead, but it's more of like from the voodoo perspective. I think from the voodoo magic perspective,
right,
of bringing bodies back. It wasn't this, comet or something, or even a disease transmits and all the dead are rising. All this stuff came out of this movie.
Right. And it's funny, one of the facts I noticed is, and I noticed this before I watched it, so I actually paid attention, and they do not actually ever refer to them as zombies in the film, or the word zombie ever even uttered in the film, which is kind of interesting, because for the most iconic, probably the most iconic zombie film out there, the fact that the word zombie never gets used is kind of funny, I think.
And they're not really made up like our traditional zombies either. Most of them look just like normal people. I mean, there's a little dark color around the eyes.
And there's one guy that was a little like, I know there was a one like guy that's kind of like balding, and he was a little like deteriorating. But yeah, you're right. Most of them were just like they literally was like, okay, you stand here and now contort your body and walk forward. That was literally their costume.
Yeah, and most of them were dressed in like what they would have been buried in.
Right, which when you
like
think about it, makes perfect sense.
You don't see a lot. Yeah, which you don't see a lot now because it's like now most zombie movies take the idea that somebody got bitten and turned before they were properly embalmed and all that stuff. So they're walking around in like regular clothes. Whereas these were all like rules. It was kind of even creepier because they were all in like funeral garb.
Right, and think about it though. Think about just the opening scene alone. When you just first like before you even realize what's going on in the movie, you just see the famous Bill Hinsman walking around in the background as if he's just you. And at first look, you may just think he's like an old drunk guy walking around, and they it's like you as the audience kind of see him and. The character, like Johnny, kind of looks at him and like kind of doesn't think anything of it. He kind of looks at him and he's just kind of walking around as if he was like a weird dude or something. But it's like, and then the fact that when he like they finally like decide to react to him, they act like it. They're just kind of joking, like because I guess he used to scare his sister. With the obviously they're coming to get you, Barbara. Coming
to get you, Barbara.
That's like one of the most iconic lines, that you repeat. And how many times have you said that like with someone else's name at the end of it?
Yeah, well, there's a funny about that. When it shows my age. So in high school, I had a physics teacher, and he had a computer. I think it was a Mac or something. But it played sound, which blew my mind. Yes, there was a time when computers didn't really play sound clips.
Right, remember when Castle Wolfenstein, that game, used to speak, and that was like the most incredible thing ever?
Yeah, that's how freaking old I am. But anyway,
I'm older than you.
He had, he had this computer and he had sound files on it, which was crazy because it was like he had movie quotes and stuff on this thing, and I could hear clips from movies. And this was back in the, early 90s, like 1990.
Oh God, yeah.
And this is one of the clips he had on there was "They're coming to get you, Barbara." So when I finally got a computer that could actually play sound, and not like beeps and boops, but actually sound files, that was the first sound file that I ever downloaded. Was that line?
Wow, that's actually really cool.
So yep, and I used to play it all the time and drive everybody crazy.
I just wish I knew more people named Barbara to say it to. I just gotta change the name,
And then Olivia doesn't work. They're coming to get you.
It's too long.
It's too long.
Julie may work, but she
coming to get you, Julie.
Yeah, but she'll probably just ignore me when I say it, anyways. She'll just know I'm doing something silly, and just because she'll be okay, great. But
anyway, Judith O'Dea was the lead female character. It was of course Barbara.
Yeah, Barbara.
And I saw her at the Mad Monster Party convention, and she looked terrific.
Yeah, she was I believe she was a Chiller also, if not at this one and another one I've been to. Yeah, she has aged well. She does not look. You'd think, I don't know why, she must have been young when she did this film, because I would have expected her to be like really like much older looking than she was.
No, she looks fantastic for her age. It seemed really nice. And then the other guy, which I'm sorry his name escapes me right now, but the guy,
Johnny,
guy that's Johnny that says that.
She used to say.
He was there as well, and he looks really cool. He just has longer hair, but he has the same glasses and everything, which is awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
So he was there too. I really regret that I didn't get to speak with them, because this being one of my a classic movie. But
I think you'll get another chance with them. They seem to be at a lot of these. They're pretty like regulars.
They come to all these. Yeah. For some reason, I always get screwed up when when it comes to Night of the Living Dead. Like, I went to that PopCon convention that we had in Wilmington, and John Russo was there, and the sheriff from Night of the Living Dead was there.
Oh, really? Hit?
George Casana
Casana.
He was there, and like nobody was talking to him, and I felt kind of bad for him. And actually, I just found out he died last year.
Really?
Oh, yeah, he died last year, huh? But anyway, but he was there, and I didn't get to speak to him very much either. So I was something Night of the Living Dead. I just don't.
That's it. I'm gonna like force you next time.
I'm a bad convention goer.
Yeah. We gotta give Tim convention 101 trade. No, you know what? You just need to go with Seth. Seth will have you.
Yeah, I need to go with somebody more outgoing. The times I've been with people that aren't real horror fans.
Oh, that's yeah, okay.
So it's kind of hard because then it's all up to me because they don't know who these people are. And it's just awkward for me, kind of introverted to.
Well, now that you met Seth too in person, you see he'll go up to anybody. So he'll go right up there with you and get anybody. You'll be talking to them all. You'll be hanging out with them. You'll be sitting on their laps. You'll be fine.
I don't know if I'll go that far.
Imagine just sitting on Tom Savini's lap, like, "Hey, Tom, what's up?" You know.
But yeah, this movie. The other big thing about this movie, African American lead.
Yeah.
In 1968.
Right, and
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and he's great in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
He shows like a strong character, you know, and he's like, and it's so there's so many times where he's like, you know, if they just listened to him, they would have probably most of them would have survived. They just don't listen to him.
It's just fascinating when you go back and watch this movie, especially now after I've seen all The Walking Dead and. Oh my god! I still love zombie stuff, even though I'm really burned out on it. Truth be told, I've probably been burned out on it for 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah,
because it's just so much of it out there. But I'll still watch it and it doesn't matter what it is. I'll still watch it if it has zombies in it.
Well, and it's hard to really, I think they've kind of done so much with it already. Like, what more can they do? I'm like wondering, you know, it's like what other, you know, they made him fast, they made him run, they made some of them like a little more intelligent and can talk. They even had that like romantic comedy zombie movie. I mean,
yeah.
What other, you know?
Well, I was just thinking that when I saw this, like how many of the zombie tropes and stuff were established in this film, like just the character infighting of the non-zombies, you know, the people.
Right, and that's such a signature thing because, you know, they panic and then they end up fighting each other when they should just be all banding together. And it's, you know, it had some of those stereotyped horror movie characters, you know, the surly guy that doesn't want to, you know, that doesn't want to help, and then he's kind of a coward, and he eventually comes around and it's too late, you know. And
yeah, the social commentary was already in place with this movie.
Right.
That's been copied over and over and over, and then he in Dawn of the Dead he ends up parodying or satirizing consumer culture with the whole mall thing. Right. So he really was way ahead of his time in terms of just like we were talking about with Get Out, with that social horror, that social commentary horror. This was one of the first big examples of that I can think of.
Right, and look how many years ago that was, you know? So, I mean...
Yeah, in fact, I saw a tweet by Jordan Peele where he basically said George did it first, and he had a picture of Dwayne Jones, who plays Ben, who is, of course, the African-American lead, so I thought it was a cool tweet.
Yeah, Jordan Peele, just every time he, like, if you ever follow him on Twitter, like, everything he says, he does is like gold. I swear to God, this guy, like, I can't wait for his next movie that he does. Because I know, right, he's got 2 more horror movies on the slate. I don't know if they've announced him or anything, but just based on what he's done already, I can't wait to see his next one. Okay. Yeah, so another thing I noticed, and for some reason I don't know if I'm misremembering it, or I've seen so many of the zombie movies, and I just, you know, I guess maybe I got, you know, some of them blended together, but you notice there really wasn't so much gore in this as you would expect. And at the time, they I think it got, like, cited for being too gory or something. And if you think about it, it really wasn't that bad. I mean, black and white helps, obviously, sway the gore, because I think what I read what they used for it. What they used for the blood, it escapes me now, but yeah, and like, you know, it's like, you know, when they're chewing the flesh, like it's pretty much separate, you know. There's one guy chewing a hand, and you know, but you know, and it's like a lot of it's like, and even the zombies are not like, you know, like remember the Burial Ground, right, where they're like pieces of them are like, you know, it's like just a really basic makeup, but it looks creepy and decayed. Like this, like you said, they were like dressed in like suits and. There was the one naked one.
Surprisingly creepy for how early it was, and I don't even think it's just because it was in black and white. I think it's despite that it's in black and white, it somehow manages to be creepy. I mean, a lot of times 70s films will benefit from that gritty look, right?
Right.
This was even earlier than that. So I don't think it's just the fact that it's black and white that makes it creepy. I think it's the way it was shot.
Oh yeah, no.
And some of the sequences and stuff were just really eerie.
Right, and speaking of, I meant to mention this earlier, but like when we were talking about the beginning of it, yeah, the way it's shot, like that chase scene when she first, encounters the first zombie and she's running to get to the house and running thing. That's a very frenetic chase scene with a lot of really good camera angles for the time. And especially in a horror movie like that, it was really like a really like exciting chase sequence. She's running, she's like sliding into the room. She runs, she's like slides into the house a little bit, on the floor, and she's just going in, and then it's like, I'm just like, wow, this is really like really well edited and paced.
Yeah, and that's all George Romero.
Right.
He did the cinematography and the editing.
Right. So it's like,
you just chalk all that up to him, his vision of why this movie works so well. And like I said, there's a reason it's a classic. And if you have never seen it,
shame on you.
Or shame on you for number one. But when you do see it, I would encourage you to really not just watch it on a surface level, but really look at the shots and the angles and the way it was cut together, because it's really, really effective for such an early film.
Right. It really it's really like almost like it could be an instructional course on how to make a good horror movie. And they actually, just to let you guys, everyone know, I actually watch. I mean, I own it, of course, but since I was watching some of it at work today, during my lunch, you could actually, it's on Amazon Prime right now. So
yeah, it is. Yeah, that's how I was watching it. And this was his first feature film that he directed. He had done one short in 1962. But it's even more impressive because of that. So
I grabbed here too. When speaking of the film, in my collection, I actually have a DVD version. It was the 30th anniversary limited edition on DVD. I don't know if you guys saw this, or Tim, if you knew that it existed. There were only 15,000 made. And the unique thing about it is, I'm going to read to you one of the features. It says, the 30th anniversary edition with over 15 minutes of new scenes. Those new scenes were actually added in, reshot and added in, including, they actually had Bill Hinsman reprise his role, I believe, as the zombie again, and he actually filmed new sequences. And they added these, it was... In all honesty, I remember one. It was an Anchor Bay. It was kind of terrible, the scenes they added in. They made it like really silly looking and just filmed it in black and white. But you could tell it was like intentionally filmed in black and white when they had, and like transferred to black and white when they had color. But it's kind of cool because they actually it was a neat thing to see and a cool set to have. But I definitely would not recommend watching that version. But, and it came with a little booklet in here, actually, which is kind of has an interview with Bill Hinsman in it. It's got the audio commentary, which I may watch at one point, again, because it actually has with John A. Russo, Bill Hinsman, Russ Streiner, and Bob Michelucci. And it's got something called the Dance of the Dead music video, which I don't know what that is.
Ew,
and it was it was basically a 30th anniversary, so they have a lot of different things on it. There was also a 98 edition of the original 90-minute edit with an all-new musical score, which I don't know how I feel about that, because I don't remember watching that version of this on there, because I thought that I was going to say I like the kind of really basic score that it has.
Yeah, there's been a lot of versions. I remember there's a 3D version.
Oh, right.
Then there was the remake. This movie has been one of those that's been touched a lot,
right?
With different various versions and stuff over the years.
The original is the best by far. The original, and that's what Amazon Prime has for sure. It's the original. It's remastered, they say, but it still had the grittiness. Like they remastered it just probably to make it like the print watchable, maybe, because maybe they took it from an original print that wasn't so great, but.
Yeah, they have done a 4K remaster, which is supposedly phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
Which I would love to see. I don't have a 4K TV because podcasting don't pay those kind of bills.
No, not yet, at least.
But anyway, so
if some company out there wants to send us one so we can review your horror films properly, feel free.
That's right. Feel free.
Yes.
So what I thought I would do is, if you haven't seen Night of the Living Dead, you need to go see it without us telling you about it. And if you have seen Night of the Living Dead, you've probably seen it multiple times.
Right.
So there's no reason to go through it scene by scene. But I thought what I would like to do is, since this is really more of a George Romero centric episode, is kind of go over some of the, and not nearly an exhaustive list, but a list of some of the things he's worked on.
Right.
And just give our little thoughts about him. So obviously, as a director, I'll just go through his directing credits first, I guess. You have, of course, Night of the Living Dead. There's a movie called There's Always Vanilla from 1971. That was his follow-up. Season of the Witch in 1972.
Not to be confused with the Halloween 3.
Right.
Season of the Witch.
And then The Crazies from 1973, which I saw the remake, and you saw that last week I mentioned I'd bought that Blu-ray of the remake at Target,
right.
which is actually a decent film, but I had not seen the original, which is a mistake I intend to.
Yeah, same
correct.
here. Because the original one, the remake has been on. I've been on cable a couple times. I've seen it and I own it, but I don't. I have not seen the original, and I almost want to now really seek that out. I'm hoping if you're listening, Shudder, Amazon Prime, you start throwing up all his movies up there to be viewed now.
Yeah, no, I won't. I'm not going to go into any of his non-horror stuff. But I did want to mention he did a O.J. Simpson documentary in 1974.
Really?
Of all things, yeah. You've got Martin from 1978, which is a kind of a vampire movie, which I really regret that I have not seen this one. That's a big gaping hole in my collection.
Yeah, you want to know something? Think of that creepiness, though. He did Martin, and Martin Landau died the same weekend he did. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Then Dawn of the Dead, 1978, which is fantastic. Even though the zombies are a little too blue for my taste, but great film, great effects.
I haven't seen those in ages. I really need to go watch those again. I haven't seen them in forever.
Yeah, but Dawn of the Dead is every bit as much a classic as Night of the Living Dead. It ranks right on up there with some of the best classic horror movies of all time. It deserves to be up there with the original.
And actually, I want to touch on something real quick. Just when you're going through the Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, if you think about it too, just his title has influenced how many horror movies, right? I mean,
I was going to mention that.
Oh, okay.
How many zombie movies? No. I'm glad you brought it up, because how many zombie movies have you heard? Shaun of the Dead.
Right, or Night of the Living Dead is a new one that they came out with. Where it's like
I think there was a Juan of the Dead, which is like a Mexican.
Right, like a Return of the Living Dead. That whole series, which is kind of stands on its own, is a great little series. Like that. The fact that the Living Dead, I mean, look, like the Walking Dead. I mean, come on. It's like the fact that he came up with that title was so perfect because it spawned so many similarities to the title.
Dawn of the Dead had one of the best taglines of any movie ever, and that was, "When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth."
Nice. See, that's one of those taglines you can't even make fun of because it's good.
No, it's just awesome. Yeah. He did, of course, Creepshow in 1982, which we talked extensively about in our Creepshow episode, which is to date our second most downloaded episode.
Yeah. Which accidentally came. I apologize because when I was typing it, I put that this Creepshow 2 on there, and I looked quick and I thought I had wrote Creepshow. But I know Tim caught. I didn't need to put that on there for us to remember that, so it works out.
And then, of course, we had Day of the Dead, 1985, which is one that took place in the army base thing. I remember that one had a super scene which you've seen copied so many times now on Walking Dead, but where the guy's on the ground and he gets basically ripped open.
Oh, right.
His intestines get pulled out. That was in Day of the Dead.
See, because he starts the stuff and then everyone wants to.
Yeah, I mean even the effects and stuff have been copied countless times. You had Monkey Shines from 1988, which is a underrated horror film. Monkey Shines was really cool if you haven't seen that one. And if you go look at the movie poster of Monkey Shines, there's that symbol monkey.
Yeah.
On the front, I've got one of those.
Oh no, that's creepy.
I bought him at a bought him at a flea market or something one time. He doesn't actually work, but
That's probably good that it doesn't.
Yeah, but it's the exact one, and I bought it actually not because of the monkey shines, but I bought it because of Stephen King's Night Shift story, where that monkey features actually in one of the stories. That's the reason I bought it. But I'll have to post a picture of him. He's cool. Oh, let's see. We got a segment in a movie called Two Evil Eyes. It looks like some kind of anthology.
Oh, I think that I know of. Actually, I didn't realize he was part of that one. Okay.
Oh, they were, okay, so it's an anthology with 2 horror tales based on short stories by Edgar Allan Poe.
Right, okay, that's why I know that, okay.
And then The Dark Half, Stephen King.
Oh, right, I almost forgot about that, too.
Which actually is a pretty decent Stephen King adaptation.
Yeah.
As far as they go. Not one of my favorite books. So
I saw that in the theater, actually.
Yeah, not one of my favorite King books, so that's kind of the reason I didn't like the movie as much. But it was not because of the movie per se. It was more just the story. But it's actually a pretty darn good adaptation of the book. Then he had a little film called... He kind of took a break for a while there from directing for about 7 years until he did a movie called Bruiser in 2000. And then he went on another zombie run. He did Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, and Survival of the Dead.
Oh, right.
And
I like how you threw that in there, Zombie Run, because you like that app a lot.
Yeah, oh, there you go. I didn't even notice that. But I saw Land and Diary. I don't believe I ever saw Survival. And they weren't up to the par with his first 3.
Right.
But, as far as the father of zombie movies goes, they're kind of... It's nice to see an official George Romero zombie film. I don't care what it is. And then he was actually also a screenwriter. So he wrote a lot of the films he directed.
And a lot of his remakes. I think he did most of the screenplays on his remakes.
Yeah, so I won't go back through mentions the movies I've already talked about, but he did some episodes of Tales from the Dark Side TV series.
And I think he was the executive that's right. He was executive producer on on the show he was.
The whole show.
That's right,
he was executive producer.
Which I have that box set actually that I might start digging into now. I got it really cheap at Best Buy. It was like I want to say it was under $20 for the whole series.
Yeah, they have that on Shudder too. So
right,
if you want to go through them. Definitely. I've actually been working my way through those, and they're really good.
Yeah, I think I might have to start.
And here's where your Creepshow 2 came in, Brian. He wrote the screenplay for Creepshow 2.
Right.
Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, he wrote the Cat from Hell segment. And then we get into some of the other ones I've already mentioned that he did. When he went on his Dead run, he wrote a lot of those. And even did the... screenplay for the Crazies remake.
Right.
Which is kind of cool.
That's what I love is that he wasn't like too he wasn't too good to like write. He knew if a remake was being made, he would still like add his stamp on it without having to direct it.
Who does that?
No one.
Who does
right?
that? Nobody does that.
That's what's so great about it. Like he put his pride aside and was like, you know what? Okay, they want to make a remake. I'm fine with it. You know what? Here, I'll even write the screenplay for it.
Yeah, and then he was producer on a lot of these I've already mentioned. He actually produced Dead Time Stories Volume 1 in 2009. Something called Road of the Dead.
I think I've heard of that one. Yeah,
Road of the Dead is I don't think that one's come out yet, but he was a co-writer on that one. So he had his hand in a lot of this, in a lot of horror movie stuff, in addition to being the father of modern zombie movies. And from all accounts, just a heck of a nice guy. Like, I was really surprised that when I started seeing the tributes and stuff come out about him, because obviously I've never met him, even though he made the convention circuit. But man, everybody just seemed to have absolutely loved him.
Yeah, you just heard. I mean, yeah, you when someone passes away, that usually people come out and say these things, but like there was something just so genuine about the way people were saying stuff about him, and it was just, it's like you almost felt like you knew him through them, the way they were so detailed in some of the stuff they were saying on how great he was and everything.
Yeah, and I've mentioned the Shockwaves Facebook group quite a bit because it comes up at my Facebook feed all the time. It's got some great horror fans on there that post a lot of fun stuff about their own collections and their own experiences. And so somebody started a thread on encounters with George Romero that they had at conventions. And so people were posting all their pictures with him and their interactions with him. And it was really cool to read. Like, he just seemed like a super nice guy. And there's a lot of people that had posted some really neat pictures and stuff. It just seemed like they really, really genuinely missed his presence and were really devastated that he passed.
Yeah, which just makes it all the more reason why, like, I think they, especially, you know, whether we were like his, his number one fans or we just liked his stuff. I felt like, running a horror movie podcast, it was we had to stop our regular thing to kind of make him the focus of this episode.
So, we'll definitely a big blow to the horror community. His passing, right on up there with the Wes Cravens and some of the other big horror icons we've lost recently. But his movies live on. His entire genre.
I was gonna say his genre is like. I mean, you want to talk about someone that's not going to be forgotten in the genre that he worked best in. I mean, there's no way you can forget him.
So let's go to our beer pairing, Brian. What did you pick out for us this week?
Well, I picked out very appropriately for the movie, not only the movie we discussed, but the man, Zombie Dust by Three Floyds Brewing. Where I haven't heard of this brewery, but it seemed pretty cool. It seems pretty cool what they have, and this one happens to be an APA, so it's an American Pale Ale. That I'm gonna actually keep an eye out for. It just sounds cool, Zombie Dust anyway, and it's got a cool little kind of dead character on the bottle. So I'm actually with being Julie and I being such big beer aficionados and seeking out a lot of craft beers and stuff, I actually find myself now really like looking at some of the artwork that's cool. They have like those Gonzo artists that are on I think Flying Dog, and stuff like that, and some of the cool artwork that you get on there and on some of the beer things. It's almost like the cover art of a good movie nowadays.
Well, yeah, I went through a phase where I had my wife and I were drinking a lot of wine. Drinking a lot of wine. As we drank, we get gifts of wine, or as we finish a bottle here and there, we would just keep the bottle and put it up on the counter. Put it up on the cabinet, and kind of made like a decorative thing out of it because there were some really cool bottles and stuff. I eventually ditched all that because it was just dust collectors.
Yeah. Oh God, if they collects dust more than his bottles.
Yeah, but it kind of reminded me of the same thing. Like, there's been times where I've wanted to keep some of the beer bottles and do the same thing because the artwork on those is even better.
Yeah,
but
I tend to just right now I kind of keep I think we only have one actual beer bottle currently that we kept as one of the Pliny the Elder, because that's was such an iconic beer that we managed to get hold of. So we kept the empty bottle for that. And Julie's not one that likes to keep little knickknacks or stuff like that. Yeah. As it's Tim will tell you. I mean, I'm like I pretty much nick and knack for the both of us. But but yeah, that we kept. But yeah, so this is a cool bottle. I'm definitely gonna keep an eye out for this beer, see if I can get a hold of it somehow. Check it out on beer menus. But
a friend of mine has the right idea. He just takes a picture of it. So every new beer that he tries, he just takes a picture of it, and that's his keepsake.
Yeah, I know Julie logs them in. I don't know if she takes a picture, but it's easy enough to go grab a picture online anyway of these things. So
yeah, but anyway, that's Zombie Dust by Three Floyds Brewing.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have last week's trivia question, which a listener got right.
Yes.
So we got some interaction. That was awesome.
I know. I think that's the first time someone actually interacted and answered the trivia question. We've had definitely interaction with some of our listeners, but this one was the first time I think someone actually answered the question, I believe, and they got it right.
So the question. Yeah, they got it right. The question was.
Oh, and by the way, the listener was James. So thank you, James.
Yep, yeah. It was, what was Jason's original name in the script? And James got it right. It was, Jason's original name was Josh.
Yes.
Which is my son's name, so That would have been appropriate to name him after a serial killer, but
Yeah.
alas, they changed the name on me. So
Yeah, but Jason just sounds more. I don't know. Josh doesn't sound scary.
nah.
Yeah, Jason kind of has that scariness. And I remember he picked Jason because of the he was a bully, I guess, that tormented him in high school. So I guess to him it was scary for sure.
I don't know. I've seen differing theories about that.
Oh, really?
I read another one that it was a combination of his two sons' names.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know which one you subscribe to, but I've seen two different theories on.
Either way, let's just glad it's not. It changed because I don't know. Jason seems so perfect and iconic. You know, it's like I'm glad they went with it.
Yeah. So the trivia question for this week. Why don't you take that one, Brian?
Okay, so it's a Night of the Living Dead was the first film to be filmed in a specific city. Name that city. I thought that was very interesting trivia when I was looking that up. Cause that was just
that's surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's accurate. I mean, from all beliefs, I assume it was. But when you think about it, because if you get the answer, you're gonna be like, really? That was the first film there? With it's big enough, iconic city that it's been in a lot of films. That and so the fact that if this was the first one, that's just a really cool fact. And they did actually name, that cemetery in the beginning. They named where it is. So next time I'm in this particular city, I may have to go look and take a visit to that cemetery. That'd be cool pictures. Maybe we'll do a Civil War trip there, and we'll get pictures in front of it, and Tim and I will be chasing each other around. It'll be really funny and weird, but it'll be.
They're coming to get you, Brian.
Yeah, and see, I can't say Tim because it's one syllable. I'll have to call you Timmy, and then that doesn't sound as scary.
Well, if you're from the South, you could say Tim.
That's right, Tim. I could say Tim.
Tim, because we can make one syllable words into two syllables.
That's true.
It's one of our talents.
I could try Tim. Yeah.
Tim.
Okay, well, I'll have to work on that one.
Yeah. So next week, hopefully, we're back on our regular schedule, barring any more unfortunate passings of horror.
Which
icons.
I hope there's not. Yeah, not to make light of this one, but yeah, let's hope. Please stay healthy,
really,
people. Right
please. Now. So we'll be back on track. I don't think we've decided exactly which one we're going to do, but it'll be a big one.
Well, actually, I mean, not to say this. Yeah, the one advantage to skipping the week is that we were going to originally plan to do. We didn't think we had time to do it justice, so we are going to push it towards the end. We're going to put a one that we're a lot easier to do, but maybe we can go back to our original format now that we have a whole week to.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So we could just go back we were gonna to the original format. So.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're gonna head out, and we'll see you next week.
Talk to you later, guys.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.